everybody to the Business Podcast, where we pour out weekly business lessons from entrepreneurs and business owners from around the world, including from this guy right here. And this guy right here has a offer of a brand new webinar that I just put together called 5 Reasons Sales Won't Save Your Business and How to Fix Them. You can go check it out at superjoepardo.com/webinar. The first ever airing of this live webinar will be on June 20th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go check it out. Go sign up, superjoepardo.com/webinar, and find out all the details over there. Anyway, let's get into this. This week, I want to talk about a couple of things. Number one being the topic of today. Obviously, this is a solo episode. I want to talk about online business reviews and why you need to take them a little bit more seriously and give them a little more weight and give them a little bit more of your time to make sure that your online presence is great when you are searched up, right? There's a couple reasons for this. So a local business owner that I am friends with has a business. He does pretty well for himself. He's constantly expanding and finding new ways of getting that business. And apparently somebody didn't have a great experience for some reason. I had a great experience when I used his services. Anyway, he ended up having a whole bunch, like 100 negative reviews posted on a couple of different platforms about his company. They were very clearly fake. I mean, they were all from like people that were listed as being in India, and they most of the reviews didn't say much, but they were negative stars, so they dropped his star rating. Because he only had a handful of reviews, and like say Google reviews, Yelp reviews, Facebook reviews, things of that nature. So this is why, it got me thinking about how I wanted to talk about to everyone about why you should make sure that you're putting together a game plan to get reviews for your business. So when somebody first interacts with your business, the first thing they're going to do is Google you, and Google right there, boom, there's a star rating right there. And you want to make sure that star rating is as high as it possibly can be. Right? And the reason is because if somebody decided to pay for 100 negative reviews for your company, it might only cost like $10 or $15. I have not done the research to look, but you can have that done for somebody else, and then all of a sudden people are searching you, and it's like, bam, really negative reviews, but not even the reviews, so the star rating is like dropped. This is why you need to make sure that you're collecting and being proactive with getting online reviews, because if somebody were to do that to you, or you have, a couple of people that have negative experiences and rate you lower, you already have a good sizable amount of people that left ratings and reviews for your business, so that even if a couple people have it, or somebody's like, oh, I'm going to pay $10 and give him 20 negative reviews to lower a star rating so people stop going there, or if it's a competitor stop doing that. If you are, that's not, obviously it's not ethical, it's not cool. So what I want you to do is be more proactive with it. And there's a couple ways. So I wrote in this blog post that you can actually check out at superjoepardo.com. It's below this video if you're watching the video on the website, or the audio if you're listening to the audio of the podcast on my site. A couple different things that you can do, right? So you want to make sure that you're being proactive, you're collecting the reviews, and it's not easy to get people to take the time to review your business. So how do you go about collecting them, right? So there's a couple of things that I wrote in the post below. I'll go over briefly, and you can check out more details. Is making sure that you're incentivizing people to take the time to write reviews. Make sure you're focusing people to write reviews in a specific place. So don't try to be like, oh, rate me on Yelp, Google, and Facebook, because like people aren't going to do that unless you incentivize each step of that process with something that they actually want. Right? So make sure that you're that you're giving them something of value, or they feel of value, to go out of their way to actually make sure that they're, I mean, first you got to give them great service, or great product, obviously. But once you get past that, it's like, okay, how do I incentivize you to take 5-10 minutes out of your day, maybe even less, to like write a thoughtful review. Another way of going about getting reviews is, you could actually craft some templates for your organization, and have it so that there's, have like a couple of them, so if you interchange what they say, people can fill it. You can fill in the blanks for them and be like, here's a review based on the services that we provided, and you just have them fill in the blanks, like, oh, it was great, this was great, blah 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 blah. If you give them a path, they can walk that path. And then obviously you incentivize it. So you've taken the 5 or 10 minutes it's going to take for them to come up with something thoughtful, shrunk that down to like half that time. So say if it was going to take them 5 minutes, now it's taking them 2.5 minutes. And you also make it easier for them by giving them special links to be like, oh, you can go right here. So go to superjoeparra.com/Google, and it'll take you right to our Google review page. You click on the review button, and just, here's a template, so give you some ideas of what you could say, or here's a template where you just fill in the blanks, and it's like a Mad Lib. Make it super super simple for them. And then you also have to be unafraid to ask for them, because if you're not asking for them, 9 times out of 10 they're not going to, actually like 9.9 times out of 10 they're not just going to go leave one for it. And if you want the proof, just look at yourself, right? Go look in the mirror and ask yourself, how often am I leaving reviews for other businesses, especially if I'm a business owner? I know I need to do a better job at it myself. So it starts with me, it starts with you, it starts with the people who are willing to make that change and help combat some of these people that are just going to leave a whole bunch of negative reviews because they had a really bad time, and they want to make sure that it's not their one negative review isn't just lost in the fray. Or again, competitors decide that they're going to go and do this. So how do you respond to negative reviews? Personally, I haven't had a whole lot of negative reviews in my business and in my books. I've gotten, out of my 4 books, I've gotten 1 negative review where somebody was really disappointed that I Self-Empower was not what they had hoped it would be. I'm sorry. I knew it going into that. I wasn't writing a book for everyone. But if the negative review is legit, you got to find a way to not come off as defensive, right? You gotta come off as being caring and looking to make it right as much as possible. So ways to do that, because depending on how many reviews you're getting, depending on the size of your business, you may actually need somebody to like just proactively like respond to reviews and respond to comments, and there's social media services out there that can do that. One I'm good friends with and a previous guest was Social Media Rescue. You can go check them out. Jennifer Crawford, you check out her past episode. I'm not sure the number, but go check that out. They do is they handle social media after, like, they're not creating the content, but they're handling how the business is interacting with the clients. So that's a type of service that you might want to be looking at. So always be looking to reach out to the client to make, see what you can do to make it better. And then once you actually have them on the phone, you can diagnose what went wrong and asking them the right questions. So if you're running your business and you're the one doing the questions, then that's great. You probably should still, even if you're not handing this process off to someone else, is build that process. Figure out what questions are the most important for your business, and you can go through and like, okay, so what did we do wrong? Great example of this. I had somebody who did not have a great time at one of my conferences. They were like the only person to leave a negative review. In my feedback, I actually asked for their name and their phone number, or name and email address, so that I can reach out to them, have that conversation, so I know how I can get better. Right? I ended up having that conversation. The person told me afterwards they were so surprised, because most times people don't want to hear the negative. They just like, people have bad experiences, but there's But you know what? Out of that conversation, I learned a few things that I was just making assumptions for. And that's why I think it's important that you take that time to not make those assumptions. That everybody says it's great, it's all wonderful. Like, yeah, but there's got to be something, right? And someone's going to be willing to tell you that. The people that are willing to tell you how negative it is, they are the most valuable because of the fact that you have the opportunity to fix that. Those other people might have overlooked it, or they didn't have that experience because they dealt with a different service or a different department in the business, or something, a different team, different service or product that they bought. So that's why I'm saying it's really important that you develop that process of how, the questions you want to ask, and really diagnose the issue so that you can make changes going forward, because you're informed, right? We can't do nothing if we don't have the information. We got to get the information. We got to get the numbers. You got to know the numbers, and you got to know the information so that you can make informed decisions about how you go about doing things going forward. In my case, it was, we do at one of my conferences, we do a workshop, but I never called it a workshop. I called it a competition. Well, the person that had a bad time was like, why did this thing take so long? I didn't see the value in it. I didn't do it. I wasn't interested. And all it took was me saying, well, it was a workshop. All of a sudden it clicked for her, and she was like, oh, I get it now. So it's unfortunate, but in the meantime, I learned that my wording in that case isn't going to translate to everyone. So it's important that you're getting that outside feedback and doing something with it. And when you're doing all these questions and everything, remember, do not get defensive. And remember that the whole thing about the customer's always right. Like, yeah, the customer is always right, because the customer is going to buy what they feel is right, not because we have to give them everything or make drastic changes just because of one thing that they saw. But if you don't have the information, you don't have the numbers, then you can't make a case for why you should make a change. And that pretty much covers why I think that you need to take some time, talk to your team, or figure out what you can do, reaching out to some of your clients, reach out to some of your best clients, right? Because some of your best clients will come in all the time, or they'll work with you all the time, but they're just happy, and that's why they keep working with you. You need them to be able to not just tell other people about it word of mouth, but get you that online presence, so in case something goes sideways on you, you have the opportunity to make it, to put a dent in it. And the great news is, if the so in the case of my friend who had his business and he got a whole bunch of negative reviews, he actually went through the process of getting them taken down. Took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to make that happen, but in the meantime, he hustled to make sure that he got as many reviews to try to offset that. Now all those negative reviews are gone, and he's good to go. He has a great review set now that he can people can see when they go and search him up. So that's the great part. So don't wait till there's an emergency to try to change that fact. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up here this week. I don't even know how deep are we in this. 13 minutes. That's about what it takes for me to talk about any kind of topic. So check out the post. And if you've enjoyed this episode of The Business Podcast, go to your nearest friend, family member, or acquaintance that you feel could get something out of this episode, or even a previous episode, one of the 350 some episodes that we have. I think this is 351 of the Business Podcast, and let them know that this is something that is going to help them. So yeah, let somebody know that you care about. And if you want, because we talked about reviews, I don't usually ask for reviews, but you can go to wherever you get your podcast from, leave a review or a rating. That would be awesome. Whether it's iTunes or Stitcher, or Spreaker, or I don't know, wherever people are getting podcasts these days. It seems to be ever expanding. Anyway, go do that. That would be awesome. Much appreciated. And, this episode has been brought to you by my brand new webinar. It comes out June 20th. I actually should probably check that date, because I'm pretty sure it's June 20th. I should have checked. I would be really shocked right now if this comes up and says, oh, it's June 21st. at 8 p.m. Eastern. I should do this better, but we do one take here at The Business Podcast. June 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 5 reasons sales won't save your business. And there's a whole bunch of information, including learning the 5 reasons and how to fix them, and then discovering how you can go about empowering your team, creating an offer that's much more profitable, and crafting processes that solve that solve big issues. In my case, it was a multi-million-dollar inventory issue that I used the system to solve at a couple years back, and have helped tons of business owners in the meantime with building out those processes. So go check it out, superjoepardo.com/webinar. Thanks everyone. I hope you have an amazing week. Thanks again.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Business Podcast featuring Super Joe Pardo. Get more business content at superjoepardo.com. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on The Business Podcast, send an email to joe@superjoepardo.com. The Business Podcast is copyrighted to 234 Solutions, LLC.